This is Unpivot. Welcome to episode 1. I'm Win Hopkins.
I'm Mark Proctor.
I'm Sue Bays.
And I'm Giles Mail.
So the concept of this show is that we're going to be discussing all things Excel, Power BI and other business related topics. It's really just an excuse for us to chat about things that we're nerding out about, shared passion about data and business value. We're going to focus on business users rather than IT, but everybody's welcome. It's going to be casual. We just want to have a bit of fun. We'll have future guests dropping in and we'll be doing future live streams at some point. So you, the kind listener, can also take part. All right. So given this is episode 1, I think we should just do a brief intro of ourselves. So Mark, who are you? Where are you? What do you do?
I'm Mark Proctor. I live in the UK in Peterborough, which is about an hour north of London. Having qualified as an accountant many years ago, I now try and help accountants to automate their month ends, get their work done a lot faster, get their budgets and forecasts done faster so they can save time and go home on time.
Perfect. Sue.
I'm Sue Bays and I am primarily a Power BI person, although I also am invited in because I love Excel. So I run my own business, been doing so for a few years, and people pay me to help them with their data solutions. And I'm a very, very keen runner as well. So you'll hear me chat about that a lot, but I just like having fun really, and data's fun. So that's why I'm here.
Awesome. And Giles.
Hello, I am co-founder of Full Stack Modeler, which is a training company for Excel people, for finance people, financial modelers. I'm 10 years into my midlife crisis, which means I do silly things like ultra marathons, and I'm increasingly annoyed by how good Sue is at running when she's only been doing it for a couple of years. She always beats
20
me.
years actually. 20.
Oh, okay. Oh, you lied to me. I thought you were just new into it last year.
Running for 20 years, but the last year or so, I've only run marathons.
Faster than me every time.
Yeah, faster than you every time, and not breaking.
That's fine.
It's the phrase. In the last year, I only run marathons.
And ultras.
Can't be bothered with anything less than that.
How quickly can I talk about Comrades Win? I haven't showed off my medal yet.
Win hasn't said who he is.
I've got to introduce myself first.
Sorry.
Can we at least get through the formalities until this turns into a running podcast? Okay, sponsored by Runkeeper. Okay, so yes, my name and Garmin. Yeah. Any other name drops for a few bits of sponsorship? My name's Win Hopkins. I'm a director at a 10-person consulting firm called Access Analytic in Perth, Western Australia. I'm an ex-accountant, but now I specialize in Power BI, Excel development and training. The company also sort of delivers a budgeting system called Solver. I've written the book, Power BI for the Excel Analyst, and have a bit of a YouTube channel that's quite popular. So search the Access Analytic channel. Okay.
It's a little bit popular.
Little bit popular. Well, it's relative, isn't it? It's not Mr. Beast. Okay.
Yeah.
Before we get into probably more topics about running rather than anything else, but stick with us, all you non-running fans. Me and Mark will keep you on the straight and narrow.
We will, yeah.
So, quick question, random question. I'll aim it at Sue to start with. What was your first job out of school?
Rank Xerox. I worked for Rank Xerox. If you want my proper job, I mean, I used to do candy floss and ice cream. I live in Cornwall, so I used to do like candy floss and ice cream and stuff. But my first proper job was working for Rank Xerox. And because I'm very, very old, although I know I don't look it, but it was when I first experienced the Windows and being able to use an intranet, because I was based at Welwyn Garden City and we had a site down in Mitcheldean. And so I was in charge of young people apprenticeships and things. So I learned how to chat away to people. So we had an intranet and I was doing business and finance, and I was just completely obsessed with how you could use IT to make business faster. And it was cool. So cool.
Very good. Giles, what about you?
I went back to the company that I spent a year in uni, the placement year you have. So I was a bid analyst, which meant lots of financial modeling, lots of like scenario modeling, DCF stuff. It was really like being thrown into the fire. It was sink or swim.
What's DCF?
Discounted cash flow modeling. So essentially on bids, you're trying to work out what price to submit to government, typically for the company I worked for. Lots of cost-based analysis, really early experience with model auditing and like dealing with the big four accounting firms with that kind of process. So yeah, luckily I swam, and it set me on this path of loving Excel and problem solving, mainly using Excel.
And Mark.
So yeah, I went to school to university, and then after that I joined a small to medium-sized firm of accountants where we did lots of statutory accounts, lots of management accounts, and that was where I think at the time we used, I think Excel 97 was the version that we were on, which was a pretty good version. And when I left there, whether I should admit this on the first episode or not, there was a workbook that we used to use that used to prepare management accounts for a specific client, and I put a macro on there that anytime anyone opened it up, it just said Mark is the Excel king. And I'm not sure I didn't password protect it. I mean, I wasn't that evil, but equally, I don't think anyone knew how to remove that. So years later, I'd catch up with people, and this message would pop up every time we opened the workbook. Mark is the Excel king.
Genius.
So slightly kindred spirits there, because my first job, it's a placement year in university as well, Giles. So I worked for Hewlett Packard's finance department in the UK. Nice. And last day of the job, swapped all my boss's icons. We were using Lotus 123. Yeah. So changed what all the buttons did, all the icons on the ribbon, just left him to it. So never spoken to him since. It's all good. All right, so let's talk about what's the news, what's happened. Okay, let's get the running out of the way. Giles, what have you been doing recently?
I have just come back from South Africa. I don't normally dress like this. This is my finisher's top. I've got my medal on. I promise I have taken it off at some point. It's been 2 and a bit weeks. So I ran Comrades Marathon, ultra marathon, which is 86 kilometers. You got to do it in under 12 hours. It was very warm. It's very hilly. So I scraped through as part of a team of other people that are actually proper athletes. Unlike me, I just kind of wing it. And yeah, I think I came back heavier than I went out to South Africa, because I ate so much food consistently for the entire week afterwards. But yeah, at some point I'm going to take this off, because I'm in my conservatory and it's hot and I've got layers on because I wanted to show all this off. So when we're done with this part of the conversation, I'm going to take all of this off.
The problem is, Giles, this is a podcast, so nobody can see you anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, can they not?
So it's just for the benefit of me, Win, and Sue, really, and we appreciate it.
And we've seen it.
Yeah.
We're not putting this on YouTube as well. Did I do this?
It'll
just
go
for
on
the 3 of
YouTube.
you? Oh,
It'll go on YouTube as well.
It will now.
I just do it for you.
So that's what I've been up to. As I said in my intro, I like doing silly things like this because it keeps me mentally active. Now I've hit my 40s. It's quite a difference to spreadsheet work.
So given you and Sue both go running, are you tracking performance in Excel reports, Power BI reports? There's got to be some nerdiness involved. Is there? Or is it just a pure...
Did you set that question up for Sue? Because that's like the perfect question. Sue, well, tell them what you've got, Sue. I've seen it.
So I have. I'm a bit like Giles. I've always run. I love running, but recently my first marathon was with Giles in Munich, where I was going to do a half, and they were all doing marathons. So I thought I'm just going to go for it, and I loved it. So since then, I've done quite a few, and we went to Vienna, didn't we, and met up with another friend of ours, Laura, which was it's just such fun because you get to run around the cities. And I've just done an ultra, and I've just done a marathon as well within a week of each other. So I slept a lot, but I have a Power BI report. which I might show you next time because I haven't got it already. But I use Power BI to analyze my runs, and I have a lovely little Excel spreadsheet where I check out what I should be doing each week. And because I'm slightly older than Giles, just slightly, I have to. My aim is not to break, so I do lots of swimming. So basically I track it all using Excel and Power BI to visualize it and check, miles per week and heart rate and speed and everything. Because as we all know, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So yes, I do, and I use it for my demos. So because I think everyone gets a bit fed up in the data world of Contoso and AdventureWorks and things. So
well, you showed it in Munich, didn't you? We did a meetup in Munich. Which was awesome. So yeah, you're older than me, faster than me, probably just tougher than me in general. You take it more seriously.
I do take it more seriously. You're much more chilled about it, whereas I have specific goals I want to hit.
Can I tell you, I wasn't chilled about it 11 hours into Comrades, where all I could think was, you're an idiot. Why didn't you have a spreadsheet that tracked all your progress? Maybe you wouldn't be running by now.
Are you, though? Are you? Because we're both signed up to run Budapest. And 2 weeks ago, you went, you're on your own. You're on your own, mate. I'm not doing that again.
I don't know.
Now he's ready. So if you had a spreadsheet to track it and I did you a little Power BI report so that you could visualize it, do you think you would?
I don't know. So when Mark, just to keep you up to speed, I basically retired after Comrades. It hurt so much. I said, never, I'm not doing this again. I'm committed to Guinness for the next 12 months and nothing but Guinness. I'll ask me again in a month.
So you don't want me to go to Texas with you now?
Oh God, it's just.
And just to bring Mark into the conversation, Mark, how was your 5K recently?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
and don't laugh because I haven't even done a 5K. Right, so hat off to Mark for his 5K. Me, done nothing.
So just to give some background, this was because the last Thursday there was the Digital Finance Function Awards. For which I'd been nominated for Training Provider of the Year.
Oh!
But it was, so the requirement was you had to, dress to impress. The problem is that I'm too tight to buy a new suit. So therefore I had to lose about a stone. And I thought I'm just going to start running. That's the way I'm going to go for it. So yeah, a few weeks ago I did my first 5K and I've done a few more since then. And I mean, the awards happened. So if I wanted to, I could be like Giles now and just say that I'm on the Guinness regime for the next however long, because that seems like quite a good scheme, which requires less work. But to be honest, I've tried running several times, and it's always just. There was the one time I was too busy playing with my iPod and wasn't looking at the curb, and I managed to fall over face first into the ground, which wasn't ideal. And when I got home, so I walked the rest of the way home with blood gushing down my knee, and I walked in the door, and the first thing my wife did was phone her sister and say, "You'll never guess what Mark's done." She didn't say, "You okay? Can you help?" Literally, that was the first thing she did. So I had a kind of a patchy history of running, but who knows? I haven't got a spreadsheet. I'm just, at the minute, it's just if I can get through it, that's a win.
Yeah, go slow. Start slow would be my advice.
Absolutely.
Just slow it and enjoy it. Marco Rosso does it purely.
Marco Russo runs it. Oh, so
Marco
there you go.
Russo.
We've got
I
a
saw
segue
him.
into some data.
Yeah, and he was running. I went, oh my God, you're even higher in my estimation. They said, I hate it. He said, I've worked out it's the most efficient way to burn calories. So that's why he does it, so he can eat cake.
It's a great reason. It's a great reason. Don't knock it. Yeah.
So
How about you, Win? Have you got any exercise, any running, any activity whatsoever?
No, I go for a swim occasionally or a bike ride, short ones, but not really. So I've got nothing. I got nothing.
He's all about the data.
I was swimming in the rain the other day. That was quite cool. I thought, I'm toughing this out. The pool was heated and stuff, but I was swimming in the rain.
And what was the temperature of Australia?
Oh, mid-20s, something like that. Quite chilly, Okay, let's get into some data then. And let's
Data.
get into some talk about stuff. Any new developments or things happened in the last, well, this is episode 1, so it could be the last year, but the last few weeks that might be of interest to folks? Anybody seen any good blog posts, topics to talk about? Anybody want to shout out? Or should we just have a really awkward silence for like 10 seconds first?
Yeah.
I was keeping quiet because
Who
I
wants
feel like
to
I've
go
just talked about
first?
running for ages.
Yeah.
There's
No
stuff
more
from
running.
the Financial Modelling World Cup, but you tell me
Oh,
where you
go
want me
for
to talk
that.
about that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Financial Modelling World Cup. What is it? When did it happen? What's involved?
I mean, the Financial Modelling World Cup. Well, so that's the name of the company. There are 2 competitions. There is the genuine Financial Modelling World Cup where you're doing financial modelling challenges. That's quite niche. But you've got the Microsoft Excel World Championship. This is getting quite a lot of kind of prominence around the world. Finals are in Vegas each year. I was invited onto Radio 2. Did you see that?
Yes,
Sue,
I
might have seen
heard
that on
you.
LinkedIn.
I
was
heard
chatting
you.
to Jeremy Vine. Suddenly decided he
Mm.
had an interest in
Yeah.
this. So I was having to guide him through what he called a VLOOKUP was, which was really interesting.
Awesome.
Anyway, so there are a series of battles, and they're normally quite hard. And the idea is you can get points on the board, you solve increasingly difficult problems. The interesting thing I thought was this: in the last battle, which was a week or 2 ago, there was actually quite a difficult challenge, which is about summing the sum of the digits challenge, but with huge numbers. And there's a limit to how many characters or numbers, integers that Excel can deal with. So using Python in Excel, you can solve the whole workbook, which has got half an hour limit, in about 5 minutes. Dim Early's done a great video on his YouTube about this. If you didn't know Python, you were in a lot of trouble. But it's the best example I've seen so far where using Python in Excel offered a very, very quick route to solve a problem that you couldn't really do without it very easily.
So they're allowed to use like the beta version of Excel in the...
Well, they did. I'm not sure the
Yeah.
case author, Michael Jarman, had kind of consciously worked through the thought that they might. But yeah, some people did. Some people were on the beta version. And if they had access to it, they solved it pretty quickly, which is amazing.
You can, because I mean, if I think I'm right, you can even, if you've got pre-made lambdas, you can just copy and paste them into your workbook, and then you're good to go. So it's literally like there's no rules. It's like, UFC or whatever it is.
It's exactly like UFC. Yes, that's exactly. When I watched those Excel battles, yeah, it's to be fair, like it's pretty vicious at the top end of it. You can use pre-built lambdas. I think Andrew Grigalonovich's view on this is anything you could do in the real world in Excel, you should be able to do in the competition. The difficulty is you've got the top guys who are already brilliant at everything in Excel and problem solving. So they've now taken on Lambda quicker than anyone else. So the gap between the top guys and everybody else has grown. I still think it's a fantastic way to test yourself. If anybody hasn't heard of it, go and check out the Microsoft Excel World Championship. It's $20 to enter a round. It'll be really hard. You'll do really badly, and you'll definitely improve if you keep trying. There you go.
Do they get a prize? Do they get a prize? Do they?
Yeah, there is prize money, and I think year on year it'll grow. So I think it's about $25,000 at the moment. The prize pool. Like I say, I think it's got real legs, this competition, and it's an esport. It's a genuine esport. So you think of how many millions people can make playing Call of Duty or Fortnite or whatever. Why not make millions from solving problems quickly in Excel? It's our dream, isn't it?
Yeah. Because that's the one that's like televised on ESPN and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I watched an episode a little while back, and it was just going so fast. And the sort of screens were zooming in and out. I was just like, I'm not really sure what's going on. I think it's one of those ones you've got to get into a little bit.
You do, and bear in mind, people like Dim and Michael Jarman and Andrew Nye, who's one of the top guys as well. These guys have been competing for years and years and years. So not only are they very intelligent and very good at Excel, they're also very experienced battle pros. So I always say to people, watch these guys and take inspiration from them, but also don't compare yourself to them, because if you do, you wake up every day for the rest of your life being immensely disappointed in yourself, which doesn't do any good.
Yeah.
Is there any chance you could use some form of brute force attack on the answer sheet and just kind of spam it with every single number?
Your head's still in UFC mode, isn't it? It's,
I mean, it's like I can't beat them using standard rules, and I need to find another way.
Python. That's
Python
the superpower.
Yeah,
I think one of
Python
my
and this might be a nice segue out in REGEX. REGEX will be another tool that I think will be useful for the battle people coming up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the REGEX thing, it's not something I've ever had any experience of. And I've never really, I don't think I've ever missed it. So it's one of those tools that, it's used for, it's inside a version currently of Excel.
Yes.
I haven't used it in Excel.
Good for extracting data from, splitting strings of text apart and grabbing something, finding patterns and all that sort of stuff, but not something that I've ever had much of a need of. So it'd be interesting to see how it develops. Where have you used it, Sue?
In R for analysing questionnaires. So, when people do freestyle questionnaires, putting out certain words and such like, but not within Excel. I guess the only thing you would do is if you're very comfortable in Excel, and you would download a CSV, it would be using the regex on one of the columns, I think, without then having to go to another language. So I
think that's where the use case is is seen. So quite a bit of excitement about it. Any thoughts, Mark?
Well, I used regex about 20 years ago when at the time I was thinking about starting a website development agency. I didn't, but we built our own content management platform, which had people could log in, and they definitely need to verify email addresses and other things. So there were patterns that we would just use that would check whether various email addresses were valid. But apart from that, I've never really understood how that works. All those characters, you just look at it and it's a complete mess. I think most people at the minute are just suggesting that you just go to ChatGPT and ask it to generate some regex, because actually to create some of those test strings is it's a whole language in itself. I think didn't it start like the 60s or something? So it's kind of it's been around for a long time, but it's just quite hard to master and to get it right. So my plan would be ChatGPT, or I'm sure somebody on Stack Overflow has asked my exact question at some point. So that if I ever need it, that will be my plan.
Yeah,
I reckon you're right.
Chandu shared so there was a really interesting day or two when lots of the MVPs together, or in what looked like quite a coordinated way, released new regex videos. Chandu is the first person that I saw post that said, hey, look, this is great, but also, like, if you've got bad data, regex isn't the fix. It might help you extract things in a cleaner way, but you still need to go back to source and ideally sort your data out, which I thought was a great point to make amongst the hype.
Yeah, it's the context of which you're pulling the data out from. So if you're looking at sentences, there was something on, I don't know, one of the memes saying commas matter, no, comma, more wine, or no, more wine. So so it's the same with regex, when you pull something out and you're trying to analyze the meaning or the sentiment behind it, or what it's trying to convey, which is what I had to do with the sentiment analysis, is context. What are the phrases that it's used with? So sometimes it's not just about one word, it's about the whole thing. So but then it can be useful, like you say, for validating emails or looking at bank numbers or sort codes or something. That's, I think, where it's a predefined field. Does it meet that criteria or not?
Have you used it at all, Win?
No, well, only just to play about and see what it was about, and sort of try a few things out. It feels like it should be a Power Query feature, rather than an Excel function.
I mean, it's because it's about extracting. You're trying to clean data or extract something from your data to get it into a format that you can use, to me, it feels like it would sit better in Power Query because that's what it's for. But whether we'll get it, we'll find out. I think there's a few people who have tried having regex in Excel. I think some people have ended up using some kind of JavaScript derivative or something.
Okay.
I'm sure someone's asked me that, and I've searched for it at some point. There'll be some Power Query hero who has already solved that, and it's not me.
No.
But some I'm sure somebody has, because I've been asked about it. But
I think Brian Julius, who's in the sort of Power BI world, he's used Power Query, but again using either R or Python as the module within Power Query to use regex in that way.
Yeah.
And that's. But it does seem that Excel is giving much more programming functionality towards data cleansing. I think with the lambdas and regex. Yeah.
With Excel now, I think they changed it all under the hood so that an Excel cell can contain all sorts of stuff now. So, not just a number, it can contain an image, it can contain all this other stuff. And the grid is sort of not so limited anymore. And they're just sort of, I think like the engineers under the Excel team are just lighting up with like, oh God, we can do that now, we can do this now. And I think some of these things will fall in the gap between what's cool and what's business practical, what's really useful, and other things will just turn out to be properly useful, but they're just trying a whole bunch of things right now, which is pretty exciting. It's all happening so quick.
I think it's brilliant. Sorry, because I think Excel, people are programming if they're in Excel. If they're using an if statement, they're programming, and so they don't realise that. So it makes when you say to people and you're training them or talking to them, you are programming, and they're like, "Am I?" And you're like, "Yes, you are." You're thinking that way, which is fabulous. But from a data perspective, having all of the functionality that you can do in Excel, it's like, please don't use Excel to load into Power BI because it's you have to be quite careful. Make it a table, please.
I'd be interested to get because we're all involved in sort of training in one way or another. But what I still see, with full stack is most people are nowhere near the point where I would suggest they start thinking about or worrying about Python or regex or anything like that. And actually we do get a lot of people that come in going, I really want to learn Python. And then you dig into, why, you're still using VLOOKUP or you don't know what an Excel table is. So I don't know whether you have that shared experience where the new flashy stuff is great. And like as an Excel geek, I love it. But for 90+% of people in this Excel space, I would probably try to hold them back from all the new stuff for a little bit.
For me, I think the most important thing that Excel users need to know is about how you structure data properly. Because then once you get that right, everything else can flow out reasonably easily. So until someone's got that completely sussed, I would say don't even, because so Python and Excel is really about the visualization piece, because they haven't added a lot of the other libraries around automation. So it's really about that visualization piece. So if you haven't got data in a good structure, then your visualization is going to mean nothing. So from what I think, it's for Excel users, it's primarily about how do you structure data so then you can work with it in the best way. So and that's why Power Query is an important tool, because that's the tool that gets us from here's my input to here's some data in first normal form or whatever structure we're going with. But that's the most important thing. So I don't think I'm with you, Giles. I don't think that Python or regex or those things are ever going to apply to because that's not what they need. They're still trying to fight with a VLOOKUP because they haven't got their reference number in the first column. Then it doesn't matter what shiny stuff you put on top. It's not going to make any difference.
No arguments from me. It's sort of still people on training courses doing Power BI. They sneak a bit of Excel in there, show them tables in an XLOOKUP, and it's just like, what are those things that you're showing us? It's just, it is the core elements. I think if you know tables, XLOOKUP and pivot tables, in the curve of things, you're advanced. You're more further ahead than you would think. So don't feel like you're falling behind if you don't know some of the advanced stuff. If you know the core things, absolutely.
Yeah.
The other thing, just in terms of bits of news, I saw a good blog post from Kurt Buehler. He always does good stuff. Data Goblins is his site.
He's brilliant.
Is sort of Power BI related type stuff, but just did a good video on what makes a good report about what to present. Sort of have this. It was this concept of having in the first 3 seconds somebody should get a number, an impact, a bit of meaning, when they look at it, and then after the sort of 30 seconds, you should get a really good sense. So when you're building a report in Excel or Power BI, it's that sort of impact thing. I think we see a lot of reports produced on LinkedIn and other places that are quite shiny and nice, but lack a lot of, there's not any insight in them. For me, I say this jokingly, but I'm sort of semi-serious. The ultimate dashboard is a green button that says everything's okay.
Yes. No, I would agree, because people are only going to dig in deeper to the reds.
You just shouldn't make somebody work really hard to work out that everything's just all right. You should be producing that level of red button, green button, and then to some extent
that leads on to my thing. Can I tell you what I've just done?
Yeah, go.
I'm very, very pleased with it. So I love Tabular Editor. So those of you that don't know, Tabular Editor is an external tool that attaches to Power BI, and what it does is it allows you to do things very quickly. So and because I work for myself, time's important. So I've just get me, not a programmer. So I've just written a little C# script that creates a measure for me, and a measure does all the calculation stuff in Power BI, which will format that I can write a measure which will format everything to be either green, amber, or red. So I can apply it to the conditional formatting in Power BI. I just go do that, and it gives me a little measure, and then I drag it into Power BI, and it goes if it's green, if it's amber, and it's red. Because like you went, keep it simple. My users have got enough to do without having to try and decipher what the report is doing. So and quite often it's like, if it's green, don't even show me, just show me the red, so I know which ones to focus on. Yeah. So I'm like that. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Big win today. A
little bit of so I guess we may have all experienced this as well. This thing of wasting time automating things manually in 5 seconds.
Yeah, I know.
But it's time invested, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. It took me probably about an hour or so of trying different ways and things that I could do to automate it, and then I was like, right, let's try again. And so it's about 5 or 6 iterations, and I've got it now.
Did you start that story saying you're not a programmer, Sue? Because I mean, just perception-wise, like, to me, you're definitely a programmer, but you don't think of yourself as one.
No. I would say I'm a self-taught programmer, and I don't consider myself one because I don't know how to use Visual Studio Code very well or GitHub. But I'm getting better. I've started to use Git and Visual Studio Code now because of all the stuff that's coming in Power BI, which is very exciting.
Yeah, you're a programmer.
I was going to say, to me, you're definitely a programmer. I'm a grid Excel person that's dipping his toe outside. You're a programmer.
So this is the first episode, so it's probably going to be quite a small number of people listening to this to start with. Although knowing Wynn's little YouTube page, it may not be quite so small. So I've got sons, and my first son is called Ross, and I have to say I'm slightly ashamed but also slightly pleased that when I was thinking of what name to call him, I love Ross because it's Poldark, which is just like Cornish, and Daphne du Maurier and everything, but there was an element in my brain that said, actually, you're going to be saying this name repeatedly for many, many years, constantly. So I went for a nice short name to save time. It wasn't the pure reason, but it was a reason, because I thought, that's going to be, Ross, rather than going Bartholomew. Ross.
Thinking ahead. All that planning.
That's the way my brain works.
That is automation. You see, you thought, if I go for a long name, We have to do that thing over and over again. But if we go for a short name, it's like a keyboard shortcut. That is. Go for a short name. That's genius.
Set it up right in the first place.
So
Exactly.
you can see why I'm slightly embarrassed, but also slightly proud.
It's good. It's good. Right. Is there any other news, or should we just get into the main topic for today?
Have
Oh,
we
was that not
got
the
there
main
yet?
topic? What was that?
No.
How long have we been talking? 35 minutes and we're not on the main topic.
Yeah.
We're still on the intro.
This is the intro.
Blimey. Should I talk about running more?
Let's go to the main topic. Come on.
See how many times we can fit running in the first few episodes.
Yeah,
Right.
I'll tell you what. I'll do a little connect. Stream the chat, and then use REGEX to pull out, and then sentiment analysis for each person to see
Nice.
how negative or positive they were. That would be quite cool.
Excellent. I
Not
really
programmer.
like that idea.
Not a programmer.
All right,
Yeah.
So
She's not a programmer, but she's going to do that.
yeah.
Crazy.
So main topics, sort of AI, ChatGPT, Copilots. What's all the fuss about?
Yeah.
Is it overhyped? Is it good? Where
love
are
it.
people? Where are people at with this? Who wants to start? Anybody got a preference? Mark, do you want to? Oh, Giles has got his hand
Giles
up on
has got
the,
his hand up.
screen.
Well, you asked the question,
Doesn't
so I
it?
just thought I'd go visual.
Go for it.
Go
Yeah,
for
go
it.
visual.
A kind of a follow-on from what I said about basic skills anyway. Yes, I hear lots of hype about AI and Copilot. Most of what I've seen for Copilot in Excel hasn't blown my mind, but I'm also very much in the mindset that this is only going to get better. It's clear. I mean, I don't think you can say AI is a fad or anything like that. Like, what was the fad that still hasn't worked? I've got a PS, I've got a PlayStation, and they tried to get the, what's it called? The
Like the
VR?
virtual reality
VR
stuff, like the big
stuff,
headsets. So you had to kind of
yeah.
set things up across the corner of your room and all of this. That's a fad. AI is not going anywhere. It's only going to get better. So I kind of still tell people that I speak to, like, yeah, like you've still got to have the fundamentals. AI is not just going to do everything for you yet. But I think it will be an absolute game changer at some point. That's me.
Yeah, I would say in terms of creative, I'd say creative activities, right? So anything that for Copilot, anything that's in Word or Outlook or PowerPoint, there seems to be a reasonable use case for it, and I use that from time to time. And the ChatGPT, it generally tends to be around more creative type activities, which when you come to Excel, and you don't want a creative type activity, you want something that is, you know, if you're asking it to write a formula or something, you want it to be accurate and optimized and to give you the same result every single time. So that's where I think that Excel has got a challenge, where let's say in Word, if you say, oh, provide some text on this, if the next time you wrote it, it gave you a different sentence structure, right? You wouldn't care. You'd roll with it, you'd read it, you'd change it, you'd amend it, no problem. But in Excel, because it's either it's right or it's wrong. So, and if you get it wrong in your first formula, everything else that flows after that could also be a problem. So I think the use case is the challenge inside Excel. Now, inside ChatGPT, if you're asking that to generate a formula for you, and then it provides you with your description, and you can ask it to say, describe this to me. I almost feel like that's a better environment than Excel, because in Copilot, for anyone who hasn't seen it or hasn't used it, you type in, I'll add a formula that does this, and it inserts it automatically into your table. The problem is that once you've got down various layers, you then can't go back and say, actually, 7 formulas ago, I didn't mean that. I meant something else. It's iterative at the moment. So I kind of feel like there's just a challenge in terms of how people implement it. And when it comes to things that people don't know or understand. So if I ask ChatGPT to generate some text that I might use, so prepare an email for whatever, I'm going to read that email, and I understand what that email is, and I understand the nuances of using various words and how various words come across as quite strong, and I might decide to soften it and change it. and I'll think about my audience and who they are, and I don't want to use that term because they'll think this. And so all of those nuances we understand in terms of language, but when it comes to Excel, it's going to pump out a formula, and it might give me an offset, which, if you don't know, that's then a volatile function, which, if it's depending on where it is in your calculation chain, can cause your formulas to become quite slow, but you don't know that. So there's lots of nuances there that I think we end up missing. And I already, in terms of words, I can already speak, or hopefully I can speak English and I can read English. Therefore, I've got some knowledge, but in Excel, people are dealing with things that they don't understand. So I think there's potentially just a house of cards situation. So there's quite a lot of risks there. At the moment, I'm a bit torn as to whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. I know that's the way things are going to go. I know that's the way the future will be, but is it helpful? Is it not? I'm just not sure at the moment.
I love it. I was doing some training yesterday. I was showing some people some code, and I said, "Do you want me to give you that and explain it?" And they went, "Yes." Straight into ChatGPT, comment this out for me, explain what it's doing, put the code in, and then it's out. It's really nicely explained. And I wanted to do some dummy data for something, so I took a picture. Took a picture of snipping tool of my data model and said, prepare me some dummy data for this. I need it to have this, this, and this, and then it did it. And quite often I find sometimes starting something like text-wise, I sort of know what I want, or I'll do it and then I'll say, right, can you improve this? Or so I always find when I'm using it, it's a two-way process, like you said, exactly like you said, Mark. You have to know what you want it to do and to be able to validate whether it's right or wrong, because quite often it's wrong, and I'll go back and say, no, you've got that wrong. Think and go, oh yeah, my bad, Sue. It does, it goes, my bad, Sue. So you have to, it's a two-way step. But what I would say is it won't fix things for you, but it is a really helpful member of your team if you use it in that way.
Yeah, I think it comes from a place of having expertise to start with, and then you can understand it. But that is that lack of expertise that concerns me. But I think, Win, you've almost got it as your Google replacement.
Yeah, I'm just using it on my phone constantly and searching for stuff using it and things like that. I've just done a presentation actually on the Romania Power BI user group.
Oh, did you do it for Christian?
Yeah. So on the so that video will be available somewhere. So using it for Excel and Power BI and stuff. And then I tried Copilot briefly at the end, and Copilot's a good name, right? Like you say, it's assisting you. So it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
But the ChatGPT stuff, I put a really complicated formula in there. And I'd already built a prompt that sort of said how I like my formula to be reformatted. Yeah. And I told the prompt can you also just check if there's a better way to write it using let? Yeah. So this long, gnarly formula is then simplified using let, and it still works. And I can validate it, and it still gives me the answers. But I understand the let. Yeah. Went into ChatGPT, said, can you explain this formula to me? Sorry, went into Copilot in Excel, the thing I think it's $30 a month. So went into Copilot, clicked on the formula, said, can you explain this? And they went, I can't find a formula. It's just like, oh, come on, right? It's there. and that's the experience. ChatGPT blew me away the very first time I used it. And then I did a follow-up question, and it did more again, and it was just good. All my experiences with Copilot have just been, it doesn't do that. It doesn't do that. I opened up a Word document, said, can you just suggest a way of me referring to this or rewording this paragraph? And it says, I can't access anything in this Word document. Okay, it's Copilot for Word. It's just those sorts of things, just really like the expectation and the delivery. There's a massive gap.
And expectation wise, what, and I still think it might end up here with Excel, but what I hoped it would be was if you've got a really large data set, if you pointed Copilot at it, especially when you think of all the new stuff in Excel, Python, the regex functions, whatever else, if Copilot could do the job of kind of assessing all the tools that it now has available in modern Excel and doing the best job of finding trends and insights from that data using all the tools that are really hard for you to do manually, that would have blown me away. And I think I read somewhere on some forums that Python, it was supposed to be able to lean in on Python, but apparently it's not there yet. I have to admit, I haven't tried it, but it like you said, Win, it's like the difference between the expectation of what it would do and what you actually see it being used for is quite significant.
Yeah. I had a call as well, or an email from somebody the other day saying their boss had asked them to look into implementing AI in Power BI and Excel and things. And it was just like, why? You know, it was just like, we need this sort of knee-jerk reaction of we need AI for stuff. And like, as we mentioned earlier, you know, people are still down in the crappy data.
Yeah.
If you can't get your data in, you know, the investment will go into AI versus the investment will go into actually teaching people how to do the basics in Power BI or Excel. I think there's just a massive disconnect there. That's the stuff you should be sorting out. And I know I'm biased because I deliver training, so I'm obviously going to say training's the right idea, but it is, right? Just get your staff up to speed with the latest features and what they can do with the core elements and how to do it properly. And then the other stuff will be, you know, icing on the cake.
It's if you're chucking garbage into AI, you're going to get garbage out. So it comes back to this, you know, a lot of it comes back to tabular modeling and automation.
Somebody had a poll on LinkedIn a few weeks ago about whether, and I don't know how many people responded, but about whether time would be better spent learning AI or learning basic Excel skills. And I wasn't sure which way it was going to go, but it ended up being, so there was kind of strongly agree, and, you know, the 5 options. But between agree and strongly agree for Excel, it was like 92% of people thought that basic Excel skills would give you more benefit than being really good at AI.
That's almost relieving.
Learn Power Query.
Yeah.
Learn Power Query would be my answer. Learn Power Query. Automate everything. Automate everything, clean everything, and do it once.
The way I see the ChatGPT stuff, its restriction is that security, you know, the security around the sensitivity around your data. So there's an element there, but if you just put code in, like formatting code, Excel formulas, there's not really a sensitivity issue there. But if you're uploading data, then there obviously is. But that's where I would hope that Copilot in that secure environment, you know, you can just freely do whatever you want. But I just wanted Copilot to work like ChatGPT, and it probably will at some point.
It will, I think.
Yeah. You know, it uses the same model in the back end as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
But it's just
I guess as well, there must be a layer around it to do with the tenant settings and security that maybe ChatGPT doesn't have.
And the complexity of actually accessing the Excel grid, you know, is just insane. But I would be totally happy if there was just the ChatGPT functionality in the side panel in Copilot. Just that. Let me copy paste a formula in and explain it. Don't even interact with the grid, as Mark was mentioning earlier. You know, if that's what would give me the best results, so I don't have to go off to Copilot to do stuff, that would be awesome. But it will get, you know.
The best use case I've found for Copilot so far is you put a table on your grid, and then you type out into the search box, can you provide some VBA code to do whatever? And it doesn't even touch the grid. You just need a table there, so it turns on the feature, and then you can start talking with it about other stuff.
Brilliant. Because autosave has to be on as well in Copilot in Excel, which I still can't get to grips with autosave to some extent. It's all right, but I don't know, that whole thing of, you know, every change you make just happening instantly, so I can't sort of close out with something without having saved it. It just still rubs me the wrong way, but maybe I'm just a bit old in the tooth, long in the tooth.
Doesn't polarize opinion as much as automatic or manual calcs. If you get into financial modeler world, that's a topic that will get some heated answers for you. Should you have your Excel in automatic or manual calc mode? What are all of you?
These are the folks that, you know, legend says break their F2 keys off their keyboard, or the F1 key, isn't it? The F1 key in case they accident. Yeah. I don't know if that's actually true, but it's a good meme.
No, nobody wants manual calculation mode. It's just because sometimes your model gets so big that you need it. So surely nobody wants it. It's just the fact that you're stuck with it. So I would say always go automatic until it becomes so big that you've got no other option.
And then you should be using Power Query.
Yeah, I'm with you, but lots of project finance modelers would strongly disagree with you.
Hopefully they're not listening. Hopefully they're not knocking down my door. I mean, at the start, I told them where I live. So they,
rookie mistake.
Now me down. I've got no chance.
I didn't refer to that.
So how much of it, like, and from the Power BI world as well, I don't like this term general availability for Copilot, when it's only available if you pay $5,000 a year for premium. So that terminology, I know it's technically correct. It's generally available, which means that if you have a bug with something, the support will answer and try and help you with the issues, rather than being in preview when they won't. But it just goes, hey, it's all generally available, which means, but only if you're on the premium tier.
If you're on premium. Yeah.
And that sort of, and it genuinely costs more when people run Copilot. So, they're paying for the processing power, they're paying for the chips and the compute power. So I can see that it is a genuine feature that they need to charge more for, but I'd like a bit more open sort of.
Well, ChatGPT's stop. You don't have to pay now, do you, for part of it?
Yeah, you've got access to more of it. It's just if you want to upload images and analyze them, you have to have the paid version. If you want to create your own little prompts and save them, you have to pay for it, but you can now access the prompts for free. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's growing and growing, and it's just going to get faster, and the models are quicker, and your code gets written quicker. But like you say, if you don't know what you're doing, you're just writing code faster that's doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I run I put two reports together, or two data sets. One was like a dimension table with customer and product, another one with sales. Build me a chart, and it built me a chart, and it was right. Okay. Then I said, show me who's the top selling customer, and it was right. And I said, give me that chart for the top selling customer, and it looked right, but it was wrong. And I have no idea why, because I have no idea what it did under the hood to generate the numbers.
Yeah.
So there, it's still, it's
you have to
it's
check.
not good enough. Being one out is not good enough. Wrong is wrong when it comes to the numbers.
Yeah, because you don't know what it's going to be if it's someone else. So yeah.
Yeah. So trying to assess that is just really tricky, but getting a lot better. So any other thoughts?
It starts, one thought on this. If you can start to rely on it getting the right answer, I just wonder whether Copilot will be of most value to people that don't like Excel. Do you know what I mean? So if you're just a user who would rather do anything in their day other than be in Excel, they have to use it because they're told they have to use it. I wonder whether Copilot is going to be most valuable to those people, because actually it's probably going to be best at lots of the fundamental tasks that I think the four of us would think of as very easy. So I don't know. It's just a thought that for the probably vast majority of people that don't wake up and go to bed thinking about how they can get better at Excel like us, maybe it's best for them, because it's going to do a lot of those usury tasks quickly and hopefully reliably for them.
Yes, but I think it's still
scary. Actually,
it misses the piece. It misses the piece about the data, even though it's done a good job for me in the past with the validation and also the restructuring of the data into the right layout and things to give you the answers. And if how accurate does it need to be? Like, people make mistakes. Okay. So we still trust people to give us the right answer most of the time, but can we guarantee somebody's going to give us the answer most of the time? So where is the tipping point where we trust Copilot? How many times does it have to get it right for us to
that's
eventually
why
say?
I caveated that with assume it gets right, which is a big assumption. But so in my head, right, if you just had a massive data set, it's in you've copied and pasted it into Excel, and you just point to Copilot, you say, analyze that and stick it into a 5-page PowerPoint for me. if it just did a 95% decent job on that for the average person, maybe that's the best use case for Copilot for the foreseeable future, assuming it does the right stuff. I don't know, it's just a thought that popped into my head.
I think that's where it falls down, though, is that, you know, you can just imagine you only have to hear about somebody else having a bad experience still. 1, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, and you think, you know, the news gets around and it's just wrong. You imagine, you know, an Excel formula just giving you the wrong answer one day. And everybody goes, oh yeah, Excel gave me the wrong answer. Excel gave me the wrong answer.
Oh, that's not good.
Or Power BI, you know, the report was like, there was an article, I don't know if you saw this recently, Sue, with the article saying that Power BI was a security risk. It was just a complete fluff piece by somebody.
Yeah.
And essentially, there's a publish to web feature with Power BI, and you can share your data, but you haven't given someone access to the underlying data set. There's no risk, but they saw it as a risk and said, oh, there's a big security. And it just went, you know, crazy. There was something similar with VBA a little while back around companies banning VBA because it was a security risk, which to some extent it can be.
Yeah.
But just the hysteria around it, I think, means it.
Yeah, I think people are just, you know, like you say, are saying that, and then they're sending out emails left, right, and centre, which are got stuff in it. So it's
just frightening everyone.
Yeah, I need to.
Are we wrapping things up for today? Look, we've done a good 56 minutes for episode 1.
Oh no, it's good. I've got a call in.
How many main topics were there supposed to be? Did we just barely finish one?
Be another one. That's all right.
Was there?
We can save that.
We can roll it over. We just talk.
Roll it over.
Yeah.
Perhaps if you do a podcast and ask people to say what they want us to try and keep us on track.
So to wrap things up, then, we'll be putting this on various podcast platforms. We'll be on YouTube. You'll know about one of those because you'll be listening to this. Otherwise, you won't have a clue what I'm talking about. And we'll do another one in a couple of weeks' time. So our plan initially is to do a fortnightly episode, and we'll just see how it goes. I enjoyed chatting to you guys. This is our first episode, so thank you. We got through it all.
We got through it all.
No technical issues. Excellent.
No technical issues.
I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Thoroughly.
Not running for a long time, and Guinness. It was a pleasure.
I might have to go for a run.
Hey, I had a pint of Guinness in Dublin at Day Tequila.
Oh, it is where the best Guinness is. It's the best.
I did enjoy it, but the size.
Maybe we should do a challenge. By the end of this season, we will do a live episode where we are running and drinking Guinness at the same time, and having a conversation between the 4 of us.
2 of you could run. 2 of us could do Guinness.
Yeah, you 2 do the Guinness. I'll do the running and the conversation. And awesome. It's been a pleasure, Win. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. And
excellent, everybody.
To chat to all of you.
Okay, thanks, everybody. We'll catch everybody in the next episode.
See you next time.
Bye. Bye-bye.